G'day guys and welcome to a preview of Derby Day. So it'll be Rosehill Gardens and I'll try and get through Flemington as well and not make it too long. So we'll start off Rosehill, Rail in the True. There's a little bit of rain about, but it looks like it's going to be a pretty dry track, and because of that, you know, if they get a little bit of rain, they might get a little bit off the fence in the straight, but otherwise it looks like it'll be pretty fair. Track's been racing well. We start off the day with a 2-year-old. Good little mix of raced runners and unraced runners. It's Darhead who comes up the favourite in the early betting from the Godolphin unraced runner. Darhead was certainly rock solid in its first start when it's outside the leader there, and kicked on, just nosed out by Madame Moustache, who had that run previously. Lights comes out of the other race, the Louisa race, Showtime, which did look a bit of a stronger race on paper, and the horse did look like it had a bit of an improvement. So did Darhead, though. In saying that, I don't think there's a lot between those two. And then the two unraced runners, Ibanez comes out of the same race as Darhead, finished off quite nicely there and did look to have a little bit of upside. And the two unraced runners in Champagne Cuddles and Epidemic look the two main other chances in the race for mine. Wanted to show the replay of Epidemic. This is pretty interesting. It's 3 weeks ago now, and they raced in the Godolphin took a truckload up to Wyong and put them in open trials, which is a very interesting sort of option. I want to say open trials against open grade winners like Prince Dylan's, a pretty solid provincial horse, and Epidemic, which gets back a little bit here in between runners, finishes off. They've run really good time for an 845 metre trial, and again that's open trial. So this is Epidemic sitting in behind them here, hitting Prince Dylan kind of clear out a bit. Another Lager's another open grade horse that's come out and run second at Wyong after this in an open class race. So very good trial from Epidemic, really wary of it. There is a little bit of a rumour that went around that the Godolphin horses had a bit of a virus go through the 2-year-old barn, so a little bit wary of that. But it does look a challenger, even though it's a little bit awkwardly well drawn. I thought this was the other good trial, the first starter. It was only a 750 metre trial, but this horse tended to do everything right and draws to sort of be right there as well. All the pace does look drawn inside, so interesting to see. Champagne Cuddles sits in behind here in the Ramsey colours, the green, white stripe, big white face. This horse Teaspoon goes quite nicely, so I like the way she sort of push button, shows a nice little turn of foot, puts them away. She'll be better for that, and she'll get the right run to use that little bit of a turn of foot. Probably the 1100 metres first up is going to be a little bit of a query, but she looks competitive. So for me, Darhead, Epidemic are the two that I want to be on. Lights and Champagne Cuddles next best. Ipso Facto was the other one that had trialled well enough for me and does look pretty big odds around the $17 mark, and that's mainly, I think, from the tough draw. So the 2-year-old's a good start to the day. Race 2, and it's pretty hard not to show a few replays here. This horse, Il Riccio, at one start, went to Ipswich, trained by Tony Gollan, Jim Byrne Road. Showed the start and try and get through it as quickly as sort of possible. His second widest here ends up leading. Driven quite hard to lead. Controls the pace, puts them away before the turn. Races away, wins by 10, breaks the track record. Hard to knock that, but it is a long way from Ipswich to Rosehill. And I think even though Jim Byrne's coming here to ride this horse, that there's a mile of speed here. It's probably drawn. I wish Foxtails was drawn inside it, so he'd really push it. But you've got sort of Ozark, Eckstein, El Riccio, Foxtails that want to really forward on pace position. Pound Sterling, who wants to kick up from the inside to add a little bit more pressure. So he's going to have to work. He's going up in trip. He's moving. He's going away from home for the first time, and he's meeting a field of some serious horses. I think the two that are the dangers and the ones that I've marked sort of favourites are Cadogan and Star Monsoon. Star Monsoon's been up for a long time. He's obviously racing really well. He comes out of that race behind Sprite last time where the pace did suit him. He was coming off a slow pace the time before that. So he'd drawn 8 and 6 and had to get back out of these races in strong races, 2 runs in a row. This time he's drawn soft. He'll probably need a little bit of luck, but he will be strong late. There's no doubt about that. And then this horse, Cadogan, which is the horse I've sort of been waiting for. I want to show the replay of when he got to 1400 last time, following 2 1100 metre runs. That was his first prep. He's had 2 trials. He's had to cut that Eagle Farm late prep, so a shortish spell, even though he's had 140 days off, but a good grounding to his preparation this time. He's going to be a better horse. What I want to show here is what he did to a good grade. He's back in the American sort of colours here, the white with the blue stripes and the red. And I know this is the favourite flow in here. He does get held up a little bit, but still the turn of foot he shows here when he's exposed is that of a top class horse. It sort of reminds you of what a Stern did to the Golden Rose Field, which obviously is a higher class race, but there's, Wine Bush, there's a few good horses in here. They're not slouches, and what he's done to them there is that of a top class horse. And he was going from 11 to 14 this day, so it was entitled to get a little bit tired. He then went up to the Group 2 in Brisbane and fought an on-pace bias, made a lot of ground out wide at Doomben, then went to that track at Eagle Farm that a lot of horses didn't handle, to the Group 1, started $12, sorry, and just didn't finish the course. So total forgives, comes back. He's back here last. This is his second trial. They've run good time, both trials that he's been in. And here he is last. Dark Steel's come out and won. Coonawarra's hard race fit. And this horse just picks him up as he likes, with a little bit of pressure, but I think the hot pace is going to suit this horse. I think he'll be fit enough, and I'm pretty excited about his prospects, this preparation, and definitely in this race. It just looks a great starting point for him. If it was Randwick, I'd be super keen on him, and I just think he's going to run a big race over the 1200 metres here. First up, and I thought, the danger was Star Monsoon, and if Phil Riccio's good enough to beat these horses at his second start, good luck to him, but I can't be chiming in at the sort of 7 to 4 that he's come up in the early betting. Race 3, and I thought this race was more about tempo and what was going to happen. The horse I'd settled on as the main chance as a mower. I'm not over the moon by the junior rider, but I think that this race works out well for him, where he'll push forward and either Dreamforce will give him the lead, or he'll sort of take it up himself possibly and let something else come across. So here he is in his last run. I think he had the first up run where he got a little bit tired. He went back to the trials, 1,000 metre trial. So he's gone 14,000 metre trial, 1,400 metres again this day. They've gone quick here, and what I like about him is that Bull Rush sort of drops off. He takes control. In the horses that have had a softer run behind him do get past him, but the fight he shows late is what I like. Saying to me that he's ready to go now. The way he sort of fights off Royal Tudor and puts a bit of margin on him late and holds him is a good sign. I think that he's ready to kick on now, and this race looks ideal for him. he should definitely get across. I can't see them wanting to go too hard on Dreamforce up in trip. He's put two good strong wins together. There's no doubt about that, this preparation. And I do want to watch the replay because I think the danger of the horse that just missed him first up, who's likely to give them a start here, but does look like a progressive horse. So Leopari's back last in the red cap. Dreamforce is third. Gets the run at the right time, so they're following each other through here. It was a slow pace this day, but this was Leopari's first run for Wallach, come over from New Zealand with some pretty solid form. And just love the way he's hit the line here first up. Late, he was desperately unlucky. He was scratched from a Wednesday race, save for this, and I think he's the clear danger to Mower. I do think it's a pretty solid two-horse play. I think Dreamforce, as you see there, sort of had every possible chance and just held Leopari off. He'll probably get his chance again here, but I think Mower was the stronger of the two on paces at this stage, and that Leopari is the one coming over the top of them. So I do think they'll be hard to beat here. Nassak's obviously going very well and lightly raced in a winner of 3 from 5. But, sorry, 3 from 4. But I do think this is a step up for him, and the other two runners are really well placed. Race 4, and we get to the highway. This is one of the hardest highways I've ever seen. Normally a fan of these sort of races, but I just think there's chances everywhere. There's been a couple of strong betting moves for horses. I did think it went up over the odds. I think they put up about 16 to 1. Bill's a goodie. It's into around the 5 or 6 to 1 mark now, and that's probably fair enough. The top horse, Delightful Feeling, had its chance certainly last start when up in Doomben, and comes back to a winnable race here, but it does look well found around the $7 mark. Nick's Vendetta ran a really strong race, draws wide with the Apprentice. It's going to make it a little bit tough. Joel's Destiny has put 2 on end, goes up in trip, will show pace. I thought Artistic Beauty trialled really well the other day for this first up effort. It's obviously not an easy race to win first up, but it did trial up really well. Dramatico's put 2 together in a row this prep and hit the line really strongly both times. Up in grade, but not too bad. And even this Alcubana, I thought, really looked quite well placed. If we just quickly watch the replay here, a heavy track today. It's back on the inside here. And if you watch, here he is going for the cutaway rail, just never gets a crack at him. And basically goes to the line hard held. I think he's a horse with good ability, and he can be in the finish here at about the 20 to 1 mark. Kavanagh knows what it takes to win these races. Collett's in really good form. He draws ideally. He won't get too far back here, probably midfield, and he'll be hard to beat. You can see him going to the line hard held here, and I think he's got plenty of upside in him. The other runner down the bottom in Don't Down Her, this is not an easy task for a 3-year-old filly, drawn wide with the Apprentice on, but it was backed like it was unbeatable first up and did win that race. Well, it does have the form behind that Sylpheed, who's gone to Melbourne and won impressively over the Carnival. It's like lightly raced in second prep as well, so it's got a good chance, but I find it hard to be too keen on anything, and probably the 2 that I could play, or maybe even 3, the way the odds are now, are Artistic Beauty around the $17 mark, Dramatico $14, and Alcubana $21, and I could play those 3 very conservatively and hope for the best. It does look like there'll be solid tempo, and all the runners will get their chance. Race 5. I wish there was speed in this race. I know Agamore's come out, which takes a little bit of the pace out of the race. Probably leaves Top Me Up in front. Maybe Metallic Crown may roll forward. It's hard to see anything else really taking those on. I thought Top Me Up was a definite improver off a run last time where it was restrained and finished the race off after it's run 2 seconds to Embley and Morton's Fork before that. If we watch quickly its last start, he was back out here, the grey with a blue cap, and he comes with Rock for the Ladies, who has come out and won since. 10 pers won again. Oh, sorry, this was the second time Demper won. So he's a far better horse, ridden up on the speed. He doesn't want to be back there, so he's going to improve, I would say. Unequivocal is the horse I wanted to find, but we'll get back and give them a start. Maybe still too good for them, just through sheer ability. Royal Tutor's going to get the right run. He's very short in early plays, and Asanara and Duke of Valentinois from the Godolphin stable are definitely worthy of keeping an eye on fresh. But the two I was looking to play here were Unequivocal and Top Me Up. They're both around the $10 mark, and they both look probably value in a race that is a little bit devoid of pace. But sometimes when you see those sort of races, a few try and push for on-pace positions, you get a solid tempo, and all of a sudden Unequivocal could be well suited. So I'm happy to back one up the front, one up the back here at odds, and see what happens. The 2,000 metre country classic in a different sort of race, $100,000 race over 2,000 metres for the country gallopers. Obviously, a lot of horses have been set for this, and it's just nearly impossible to line them up. There's so many horses that are distance queries. They'll obviously put tempo on in the race. I've settled on a few runners. I've tried to narrow it down in Something Borrowed coming down. Had the 2 runs back, obviously been set for this. Ran really well last start in the Canamble Cup. Finished off well, off a solid tempo, and really looks like 2,000 metres is right for it now. That form sort of around Hot Mustard and Get on the Grange and these sort of horses is good form for this, and obviously has run the trip. They're heading down towards Flatiro. It's been well found now. I thought it went up around the $13, $14 mark, and that was a good price, but it's into $5, $6, $7 with most places now, and it's probably around its right price. It definitely did hit the line pretty solidly last start over the mile. Gets up to 2,000 here. Lonely Orphan ran third in the Port Macquarie Cup, which was a very strong pointer for this. A horse like Sofa to be even money chance at best in a race of this nature. So even though she got beaten a long way, it was a good return to a bit of form. She wants that firm track, which she should get here. She's got a bit of class on these and around the $12, $13 mark. She looks pretty solid go. Mysticism second up 2,000 metres, 3 weeks between runs is a big query. Quite short, but does look to have ability. It's not an easy race. Even this horse here, how they call it, Averson. At least it's got a 2,000 metre win in its form. It's obviously looks like it's been targeted at this race. It's got the 3 mile runs and up to 2,000 here. It's won before stepping up from the mile to 2,000. So it does look value around the 20-1 mark, 25-1 with the tab at the moment. So it's another that shouldn't be knocked with a soft run, likely from the gate. So a wide open race. For me, Something Borrowed, Flatiro, Averson, Lonely Orphan, the hardest to beat. And they all look sort of around the $10 plus mark, which is what I'll be looking for to play in this race, that's for sure. No result would surprise one bit. Race 7, and does look to be a bit of a solid tempo here. The horses that are quite short in the market, we've got Tower of Song, New Tipperary. They're going to give a bit of a start. They're solid types, but nothing special. For Sale's the horse that did look like the one on the up until the other day, and I don't know whether to excuse that run or what to do with it, to be honest. It did get beat a long way, but it's a good sign for me that they're backing it up quickly, and it did cop quite a bump on the home turn. Slow pace, like a ridiculously slow pace with a sprint home, so maybe it just had the stuffing knocked out of it, and if you completely forgive that run, it would be a short price favourite in a field of this nature. Iggy Pop second up, getting to this trip quickly, but did run very well behind Fabrizio first up. And New Tipperary is a horse that obviously looks very promising. Kept finding the line last start. 1,300 a mile. Now goes to 1,800, which looks ideal. Winkers go on to sharpen him up a little bit. Brenton Abdullah stays with him, drops in weight, and he'll hit the line. It's a race that looks pretty tough with a lot of queries. I want to see late betting here to show me if there's any confidence in the runners. Say for Torgenson is another horse that can improve. A big query on him up to 1,800 metres, but the money for the Waller runners will be interesting. I think Tower of Song around $3.80 is very, very short, but I can't discount it as a winning chance, that's for sure. And New Tipperary about the $5, $6 mark with William Hills, also about the bottom of its market, but it has upside in its favour. For Sale and New Tipperary, the two that I'd probably want to find, just from upside point of view, I think they're the two with the most ability, and they're both, $6, $7. So if they're pretty solid in the market, I could play with them, but I don't want to get too heavily involved in the race. Even a horse like our boy Nicholas, there's not many runners in this race that can't improve enough to win, so it's not a race I'm too excited about. Race 8, 1,200 metres. Some good horses engaged here. They should run along. There does look a bit of competition for the front in the Vanguard, drawn wide with the sugar, so the lightweight. Okay, the sugar lightweight. The lightweight will press forward, I would imagine. You've got the other runners. Lead Me Astray, drawn wide, Upscale scratched. So that they should come across, set a solid tempo, and you've got horses kicking up. Canna, Yuma Desert right behind them. Frill Seeking even will be looking for a sort of on-pace position, a little bit fresh. 3 weeks between runs and staying at this distance. So they should run along pretty solidly. The horses I want to find, I don't think Dixie Chick will be running by the look of it. There's still no rider nominated for it, and I know it's going to Tuesday, or it's nominated Tuesday as well. Leaving it out, the horses I want to find are those just behind the speed, and I think Yuma Desert's the one. I do want to show the replay of its last start here. Importantly, it's had the Apprentice on its first 2 runs, nosed out by Surplus, who came out and ran really well again, up in grade, and then this time misses the kick a little bit, sort of gets hunted up, stuck wide, and ends up going back. So, to me, a huge forgive when horses do that, come out, go forward, then go back. It's a recipe for disaster, and then to be stuck wide and chasing, it ends up they run home pretty quickly after setting a pretty solid tempo. This is a nice race, and the way this horse finishes off, really good pointer for mine. It's stuck wide and wider, and for her to hit the line the way she does late here, and she only really gets balanced up this last 150 metres. I thought her run was enormous. I think Upscale, who's the horse back inside here, who got 3/4 the whole way, is a good chance in the last race. And I think Yuma Desert's run was probably the run of the race. She's a winner over 12.50 previously. She looks like she'll get the right run here. Your senior jockey takes the ride. She ticks all the boxes for mine. I think she's very hard to beat. Rolito was an enormous winner first up. She was a little bit flat second up, and she's got a wide gate here, but she does have Brent Navdullah to ride. I think she'll get out a little bit from the $4 early quote that they're showing here, and I thought she was the main danger that I wanted to find as well. So you've got one that's just going to sit behind him and one that'll get back and swoop. In the Vanguard's capable of running on. I know, leading all the way. I do know that Tongue Tie goes on here, and there was a possibility that Tongue got over the bit there in Melbourne, which explains that first up run where she got a little bit more tired than you would have expected, even though she did set a pretty solid tempo in front. She can improve, but for me it looks like a really good race for Yuma Desert, and Rolito's the closer, so I'll be making Yuma Desert my main way, and Rolito saver. Lucky last, and a bit of a skinny race. I do think Upscale is very well placed. Abdullah taking the ride inside gate, doesn't look a heck of a lot of speed and should get up there pretty easily. There may be a little bit of pressure coming from out wide, but it shouldn't matter. This horse should hold a position wherever it basically wants to. Insanely short for me at 6-4 now. I thought I was hoping it'd go up around the $4 mark, and I was keen to get involved, but it did go up sort of 3.80 and then got smashed. it does look well suited, and there doesn't look to be many runners that are suited in the race. Everything's sort of got highly geared. It's got the wide gate, an apprentice against it on a race where it doesn't look easy to get up into a forward position where it likes to be. Arise Augustus is drawn awkwardly, going okay. Allart's first up. LMNOP disgracefully wide draw, and where's it going to get to? I know it's a progressive horse that really went to another level last start. Perfect Dare's probably 1100 is a little bit short for it, and it's going to be up on pace. Cosmic Caviar up in grade with the apprentice on inside gate could be a part of the speed battle, but should be tested late. Well, hardly ever a wide gate. So there's sort of things against everyone, and I thought the other horse that, interestingly, apart from it having blinkers off, is very interesting is Chrysalis. It's got the blinkers off for a new stable in Jeremy Sylvester, which is important. It's gone to the trials, Robert Thompson's trialled it, and he's come to town to ride it, and that's most important for me. Trials here without the blinkers on, it's the grey. This is just an open 900 metre trial at Cessnock, and you just want to watch the last 150 sort of metres here, and then after the line what this horse does. If it had the blinkers on, I'd be really keen on its chances at 25 to 1 each way. Just look at him climbing through it, and then really tough to pull up here. So he's come back in good form. You can see there he's looking big and solid, and he'll sprint well fresh. He's a 1200 metre horse for mine, and I think 1200 metres is a solid play for him this early in his preparation. So the two that I want to be on there in this race are definitely Chrysalis and Upscale. Heading to Flemington now, and Carbon Club first race of the day. I'll try and get through these races as quickly as possible. I know this is going to go a long time. So you've got Haydock coming out of the Caulfield Guineas. You've got Bazell coming up from Sydney form. Morton's Fork coming off an unlucky run in the same race as Akatua, who also sat outside the leader and looked uncomfortable in a day that was hard to sit outside or up on speed and run well. And then you've got this horse coming up from Sydney, who looks like he could be anything. I think Haydock at the moment's the best horse in the race. He's just come through his grand final. He's 3 weeks since that, and it will take a good effort for Tony McAvoy to keep him at that level. He's drawn awkwardly, and as much as I don't want to risk him, I'm going to. Morton's Fork similarly was flattered for mine. I know it probably should have won last start, but everyone sees that, and I think it's been priced accordingly. I think it's been priced like it was a 2 or 3 length winner in that race, and I can't find it. Bazell's an interesting horse. It's gone 1100 to maiden, straight to a Class 1 and bolted in, straight to a BM71. Went up in weight, up in trip, went to Randwick, raced against some tough horses in Alliterate and Hesdallen, and stuck his head out in the line. He drops the 5 kilos, stays at the mile, and looks like he's a really serious horse, and he's definitely got to be a player. Akatua is a horse I've got a lot of time for. I don't think he's a horse that appreciates being ridden forward. He only got beat 3/4 of a length. He probably should have been beaten a little bit further by Morton's Fork, but he's a horse that's going to appreciate Flemington. He's going to appreciate being ridden a little bit quiet early, and he's one that can improve significantly. And then you've got this horse in coming through 2 starts. This was its first start. The fence was not the place to be here. Comes through and beats Potent Force, an impressive winner since in town. Show 'em, another winner in town. I think this is Drakenfels, who's been unlucky, run second to a good horse in Savan since then. And the 4th horse, who was Holly Mo's, come out and run well in a Geelong Derby trial since then. So the format of this race is really strong. Went back to the trials, trialled really well, and then came out and produced this run the other day, which was questioned by stewards. They've walked in front, it's out the back, restrained out of the race. They've come home like 10 lengths quicker than average for this sort of time, this sort of field, and the sectionals were out of this world. I'm not big on sectionals, but what I am big on is a horse attacking the line and doing something no other runners doing, and you can see that he's putting the rest of them away. That was 1400 again. Mile looks a perfect progression. Michael Walker's an interesting choice of rider, but he should see every chance from the gate. And if they hold him out late, they're doing a good job. I think he's a serious Group 1 potential horse in the future. It's very early, obviously, in his career, but he's a horse that looks like he's got it all for mine. I don't think there's any reason for him to get that far back this time that he did last time. So for me, coming through from Bazell and just risking reluctantly Haydock and definitely risking Morton's Fork. Huge opinion of Akatur and can't believe that I haven't got him in. He's probably third pick in saying that in front of Morton's Fork and Haydock at this stage. Even probably an equal second pick for the Bazell. I've got a huge amount of respect for Akatur. There's no doubt about that, especially ridden quiet. The Wakeful, and we'll quickly go through the ones I want to show the replays of here. I think this is a really strong form race, especially for fillies. To me, that they've all looked a bit soft in their staying potential. The only horse that looks like she's really proven herself so far is Yankee Rose. This horse, Pretty Punk's sat in a good position here, 3 back the inside. In the red cap here again, she looks to be travelling quite strongly, which is a good sign for a filly off such a hot tempo. She gets the run. I think this horse, Captain Duffy's a serious chance in the Derby himself. So for this horse to be running home well, again, this was Hollywood Mo, Tumultuous, which has got form around Yankee Rose in Sydney, had the perfect trail here and struggled to get past. I think back to the 2,000 metres of the Wakeful here, she's had a really good preparation for this race, Pretty Punk. Nicholas Hall takes the ride again, and there's not much downside to her. Alliterates the one that just got nosed out by Bazell in Sydney last start. She's an interesting horse. She gets up to this sort of distance range for the first time, but has gone mile 2,000, so she's got the preparation there. Sebring Dream is coming out of the Eleonora form line. Tiamo Grace, I'll show the replay of that just to show Tiamo Grace. We'll watch here. It's important to note. So Tiamo Grace is on the fence midfield. The winner, Eleonora, is outside it. Sebring Stream's out the back. They're the main runners out of this replay going to this race that are worthy of. And Bello Solarastro is back last. The interesting thing we'll see about Tiamo Grace is that approaching the turn, she's level with Eleonora. Once we get to the turn, she's back here. She's lost Eleonora's back. She's held up. She's stopped in her tracks in a second. Stopped in her tracks completely there. It's nearly impossible for a filly or any horse to pick up from a staying race and find your momentum again. It's all a momentum gain. All these horses have kept their momentum, and Tiamo Grace is the only one that hasn't. And she was definitely the run of the race here for mine. She's definitely the horse to beat. $4.20 is probably roughly a solid enough price. And I think Tiamo Grace and Pretty Punk are definitely the two best chances. They're both well found in the market. There doesn't look huge value, but I do think they stand out. Literates the wild card coming down from Sydney. I know they put up around 25 to 1 or something crazy, or 20 to 1. Which is gone. I would have been definitely keen to take some of that. I think it's around the 10 to 1 marks. Probably it's a correct price. But those three are the winning chances for mine there. And not surprised if Sebring Stream or Bellasaur Astra find the line. But I think something would have to happen to the other two. And Tiamo Grace is clear top pick. Just a lottery here in the 1100 metre census stakes. I want to find value. I know Scheidell's going very well. Form around it stacks up really well. Drops back to mare's grade from open grade. Dropped back from open grade to mare's grade last start and was dominant. Set up fast tempo. Everything's had their chance to beat her and she's kicked on. She draws well here down the straight in the middle of the line to sort of take that middle path. I think she'll run well. Tempt Me Not's an interesting horse. One short course trial behind Raphael's Cat. I think she's a pretty underrated sprinter, Tempt Me Not. I think down the straight suits her. 1100 metres suits her, and she's a definite knockout chance around the 30-1 mark. Almighty Girl, well documented how unlucky it was last start. I was keen on her there, and she's a complete forgive, and she's another one around the 20-1 mark that could well and truly win this race. Illusionari and Palazzo Publico both can't knock their last starts again around the 25-1 mark. Super Cash drawn inside's going to find it tough. I thought Vedora's a dead set 1,000-metre horse, and I really find it tough to find her in this race. Private Secretary, $17, can't knock it. Rule the River, drawn well to run a race. She's underrated, good Sydney form. And even Zara Bay down the bottom raced away only to be run down by an older mare, and in Rockalicious by Darren Weir just burst through the line last start. So a race full of chances for mine. If I'm to play it, I don't think I can step into Shidell at $4.60, even though I think it's the horse to beat. I'm keen to sort of muck around with the roughies in Tempt Me Not, Almighty Girl, Private Secretary possibly. More keen on Rule the River and Zara Bay at odds, drawn in the right spot there down the outside. So the 20-1 chances are the ones I want to get involved in here. Lexus Stakes, interesting race from the point of view that Tom Melbourne again comes up pretty short. It's a horse I wanted to find, but not proven at the 2,500 metres is an issue. I do think they're going to run along pretty solidly here, and that could bring him undone in a race where there does look a bit of strength late. So the two horses, and again these aren't hard to find, but do look the two right horses are Real Love, who's won impressively over the 2,000 metres off a fast tempo at Moonee Valley, then went to the Caulfield Cup, and she's got caught in an awkward position here, had to press forward, over racing in front here as we'll see, eventually gets the trail on Scottish. They run fast time here. She then gets sort of boxed up in the middle and in a tough position under pressure, gets the back of the winner and battles away to really, to me, she's done a really good job to hold on to this, where she run 5th, only beaten 5 lengths with some tough quality gallopers getting a late that had softer runs. Only probably Scottish was and the winner were better runs than her. She probably was entitled to run top 3, and that's good enough for this race. It's given her the good grounding, the 2,400 metre run for this 2,500 metre run. She's drawn ideally. Hard to see her running poorly, even though she's got a pretty solid weight, 58.5 against the boys here. She probably deserves it. The other runner that's, again, no rocket science to find is Oceanographer, comes out of the Geelong Cup. They've run really good time there. He's got form against some good horses back home. And a bit of a funny ride where he's ridden really cold here against his stablemate. This is him in the white cap coming wide, trying to sustain a long run. He just keeps finding the line, keeping in mind that they're not stopping here. They're definitely running home. It's not a fast tempo. It's a solid building tempo, and it's the one that runs through the line. So definitely a deserved favourite for mine. Again, I think they went up around the $4 mark. That's gone. But if I'm playing in the race, I'm not backing anything to beat Oceanographer and Real Love. They're the only two horses I can find personally, and I think one of them will probably win. Coolmore Stud Stakes, and a race that's deserved of top billing on a day here, even with the Maya Classic, Vic Derby and Cantala following it. They're just 4 really top Group 1 races. Clash that everyone's kind of been looking for, and there was a quality jump out in between times that I don't have the vision of here, but basically the main players are Extreme Choice. Extreme Choice is back, ridden cold. To me, this wasn't a really top-class Group 1 race. They haven't run quick time. They haven't but he did lose a bit of the turn there. It was possible to run on wide this night. But his last 100 metres is really solid. Like it's really strong. It's hard to knock him off that run, but I'm saying that other horses with better racing patterns could have done similar. So even though he's won this race well, I do think the race was there to win. I do think these horses, Lucky Hustler and Chautauqua, are struggling to find their best at the moment and have come out since and struggled a touch. This is a Stern. I want to watch all three replays here. This is a Stern back in behind. Star Turns outside the leader. They've set a pretty leisurely or solid tempo and then sprint home off it. He presented pretty heavy in the yard here, as did Star Turn with improvement, and they were dominant over a good field, which included horses like Impending, who went on to run well in the Caulfield Guineas. These two look like dominant sprinters. 1200 metres here. I thought Tommy held Star Turn up a little bit too much. That gap that they've put on a quality runners off a slowish tempo is a really good sign for me. Stern then came out in the Golden Rose over 1400 metres second up off an even tempo again. A little bit unlucky Ome Sword, and then the Caulfield Guineas winner's in behind here. He's just left behind. Gets to the outside. Good standings up here. It's obviously it's one that in town, Yankee Rose, not in town, he's won a group race last start. Yankee Town on Yankee Rose. And the Stern's turn of foot again, really highlighted and strong to the line. Fresh up, he then came back and ran some ridiculous 32.2, 32.4 last 600 metres against Russian Revolution here, who remains unbeaten and is in this race. Again, he just continues to find the line. Straight racing looks like it'll suit him. He's drawn ideally in the 8 gate to really stalk the on paces and be able to build through his gears, and you just know that he's going to be strong. Over the 1200 metres here down the straight, Star Turn had that run against a Stern off a 1100 metre dominant first up victory in the San Domenico, then went to Caulfield, Group 2 weight for age. I didn't think he was given a great ride. They ran a pretty even tempo and he was just completely dominant. Fell Swoop's following him through here. He was a bit unlucky not to win the Manicato the other night, and Star Turn's just dominant in the way that he runs away from these horses. What I like about him is, as opposed to Extreme Choice, who kind of ran over some horses that were falling over a little bit, went back in the field, needed luck, Star Turn's up there, out of the way, shows the same sort of acceleration and puts it away from the front end. I think that there wasn't much difference in the level of form between this race and the Star Turn and the Extreme Choice race, and Star Turn's just far more dominant for mine as sprinter, and he's a danger to a Stern. I think he'll be up there with Russian Revolution, and the Stern will be the closer, and the others may struggle to go with them. I am a little bit wary of Flying Artie and Russian Revolution running a solid race up there, but I still do think that the Star Turn and the Stern are just far the quality two best sprinters in the country for mine. My classic, and the way I'm sort of reading this race, is that First Seal's drawn the inside. I don't think that's ideal. I didn't think it was completely dominant last start in a race where everything fell into its lap, and she did improve off the first up run where she was obviously in need of it from such a long break, but considering they're not really sprinting home here too hard, and she's had the break from the wind, she's had everything in her favour, she's not got horses that are really going to be strong over 1400 against her, and she's struggled to get past them. I'm not sure why she's such a short price favourite stepping up to the mile here from an inside gate. I can't find her at the price at all. I thought Danish Twist was at least as good as her there, but she's going to struggle a little bit maybe up to the mile. I can definitely find Heavens Above even though she's drawn awkwardly here, I don't think that's a big issue, just because there's not too many runners that look like they're going to be strong at the mile where she should be. She's coming out of this strong Epsom. She's back and wide here. This is Iraqi, comes off her back. I think Iraqi's the only horse in the race to run a faster last 600 than Heavens Above. And she runs these horses to 1.7 lengths, open grade horses. Fabrizio's obviously come out and won well since these horses have all gone on to run well, and this is her finishing just on their tail. She's not weak on the line. She drops back to mare's grade, obviously, and she looks really well suited. Around $18 just seems insane. As in value-wise, it looks very solid. Don't Doubt Mama to me was suited by the slow tempo last start. She's coming out of some, I'm going to say, poor figure races. Again, I'm not a big ratings person, but they're all slow-paced sprint home races which suit her style. She's won 2 of the 3 of them. Good on her. I think she's a risk at a strong mile. I think she'll be found out here a little bit, and I'm definitely looking to bet around her at around the $7 mark. It's insane for me that Heavens Above can be $18 and Don't Doubt Mama can be $7. I think Serene Majesty's ready to run a race, but 25 to 1's probably fair enough. Dixie Blossoms is the other runner that just has to go in. She's had the 4 runs back, complete forgive. Second up, come out, it was ridden upside down behind Tycoon Tara. They've sprinted home fast there. Then last time she went to the mile, only a Group 3. But again, she was dominant over 2 runners that have come out and, well, Lady LaFay was a complete forgive last start, and Happy Hannah's run well since against the boys. We'll see Dixie Blossoms back last year. She had to be restrained from a wide gate. This time she draws perfectly, and just the way she puts these horses away when she sees daylight here is quite impressive. Obviously a tougher assignment here, but she just looks primed to go. Her turn of foot is quite impressive, you can see there, and she's strong to the line over the mile at Randwick, so I don't see how she won't be stronger here with that mile run under her belt again. She just looks perfectly placed and should be favourite for mine. The other runner I'm keen to be with and think is a really progressive type is Euro Angel. She was given no real winning chance first up. Sat wide, no cover, really soft time of it, and to me it was a 1400 metre barrier trial. She kept finding the line, which is her thing. She then went straight to Caulfield in a day where it was hard to run on. She settles midfield with a 3 wide trail, and she's dominant here. There was a solid tempo, and it's not as if they ran home ridiculously quickly, but she just looks like a mare that's on the up. She's going to eat the mile, and she's just a horse I want to be with in a race of this nature. It's the way she just gets through her gears and just looks a strong mare. Nothing's getting near her and nothing's running past her, that's for sure. She looked like she was only just hitting a peak on the line. So for me in this race, I'm keen to play Heavens Above, Dixie Blossoms, Euro Angel. I'm wary of Whispering Brook getting up out in front with 49 kilos and doing something, but it's going to take a big effort for her to win this race as a 3-year-old filly. Hopefully she puts a bit of tempo in the race, but for me, definitely Dixie Blossoms, Euro Angel, Heavens Above, making them all good winners. Vic Derby. A race where I'm really looking for stamina. I watched the replay come up before of Captain Duffy. I thought his run was just insanely good from a staying perspective. He sat wide on an extremely fast tempo. They've gone sort of 3 seconds quicker to the 600 than a normal race for that. And he sat 3 wide, no cover, shot away, held on strongly. It does look like they've run good time, and it's pretty hard to knock the effort. At least he's going to run out a strong 2500 here on that. He's the horse that looks well prepped, if that run hasn't killed him. Sacred Elixir, fair enough. He's done well. He's won first up over the 1400, ran reasonably in the Caulfield Guineas, and then came out and he was pretty dominant last week in what looked a pretty weak race. The upside he did have was that he was in that position where he was buffeted by the wind and has an excuse where he does look like he can improve. Swear coming up from Sydney has this Yankee Rose form line which does look pretty strong now. He was only third up into this race. Swear. Tumultuous obviously ran well in the Geelong Classic and ties into that. He's stronger than Swear. Looks the winner everywhere here until Yankee Rose comes late and Prized Icon gets up the inside. I thought the ride on him was a bit funny last week, and I do think there's a good point that they're not going to this race with good standing, and they've kept just Prized Icon in this race. I do like the horse in Sacred Elixir. 7-4 seems ridiculously short. I'm liking the Sydney form of Prized Icon Swear, and I do like the run of Captain Duffy in the Geelong Classic. The other runner I can entertain, who I thought finished off quite nicely here and has the blinkers going on, is Inference. I do think he's a horse with good strong ability. He's out wide here. He's had his chance to run on. Gets a bit held up. He's got a few issues. But that last 100 metres of his here I did think was pretty solid when he does balance up. Again, this is not here nor there. I'm not overly keen on him. High Lad probably can improve. I was keen on him until last start, even though he didn't have much luck. He really didn't hit the line too strongly for mine. So if I'm having a quaddie, I'm throwing Sacred Elixir, Prized Icon, Swear, Captain Duffy in as my main 4. And if I'm betting, I'm probably betting around Sacred Elixir and having something on the other 3 in what looks a funny derby with no real standouts for mine. Race 8 in the mile, Cantalis Stakes. I'm interested in a horse here in Thunder Fantasy. It was first up for 518 days when it ran first up with 63 kilos against a pretty solid field in, that His Majesty, who'd had a good prep, Religify, who's come out and run really well since. They set it what looked a solid tempo here. And this is Thunder Fantasy midfield. You had horses like Handfast and His Majesty, who, as I said, had a pretty good prep. They've run time, and he picks them up pretty comfortably late. Falkenberg has come out and run well since. Religify has come out and run really well since, as suggested. And this horse drops 7 kilos, 8 kilos into this. You know he runs a strong mile. He's a Group 1 winner in Hong Kong over 2,000 metres. And the Anthony Cummings yard is absolutely flying. So there's not a lot to dislike about him. He's a 1,800 metre Group 1 winner in Hong Kong. He looks exceptional value around the 20-1 mark, and I'll be very surprised if that's there come race time. The United States, for me, won on class alone last week. I thought he knocked up on the line. He put them away very quickly. I don't think it was an overly strong race. This is stronger. I don't like the 7-day backup from a horse that did look like that run would take something out of him. From this stable, they're not going to run him if he's not ready to go. They would have just kept him for next week for the McKinnon or whatever they're calling that race now, the Emirates Stakes. And if he backs up here, he's obviously in good shape and can win. The other horses that I could find down in the weights were McIntosh and McCreary from the Wally yard. I thought that Epsom grounding was a good grounding for this race. McIntosh only third up. McCreary's a little bit deeper into his prep, and McIntosh was probably a little bit more impressive last start. Hofgaard's a horse that I did want to find, but was just a little bit reluctant. But I still think he's got a winning hope too. There's just a lot of query to me around strong. Palantino's coming off a query run. He's our Rocky, just stuck his head out last start, every possible chance, and this does look tougher for me. Lorraine is a mile risk for mine. Voodoo Lad's a mile risk. Bonorum's a strong mile risk. there just seems to be a lack of horses that are going to be really wanting to run through the line here. I thought Seabird ran well in the Caulfield Guineas, but Dead Set had every possible chance, and his task is not easy here. He's definitely a winning hope, and probably around 10 to 1 is fair enough. But I'm keen on Thunder Fantasy as a strong value hope. McIntosh a clear second pick, and I'll be making those two winners and throwing a few in the quaddie, probably the United States. Maybe he's our Rocky. Thunder Fantasy, McIntosh, and then probably McQuarrie and Seabird if I'm going a little bit wider. Lucky last, and Southern Legend comes up from Sydney off a good jump out. I'm a little bit surprised how short he's come up. He does look to me to be the one on the up, but he doesn't, 4 to 1 does look his price. Counter attack dropping back from a mile with the blinkers back on does look appealing. Keen Array's obviously going quite solidly. Dibiani's a horse that never wins, but that he's dropping back 4 weeks off a mile run as well. He looks to have a lot of class, and 20 to 1 looks appealing about him. Ocean Ember's drawn terribly. Craig Williams, tough. The other horses, I do think Southern Legend looks exceptionally well placed. Should roll along just behind the speed, and he'll be right there. He's the bomb-proof horse. Counter attack's the one I'm scared of, dropping back in distance with the blinkers. They look a little bit dominant for me as horses that I'd want to find. I think Dibiani's the knockout at value, and probably Keen Array goes in my quaddies as well, because it just looks it's going to be up there stalking Ball of Muscle. These are the horses I want to find, the ones sitting just behind, and I think Counter Attack will be a little bit closer than that with the blinkers on. I think he and Southern Legend, there won't be much between him and them, and they'll be up there together. So that's the last race of the day. Lot covered. Hope I got through most of it. Sorry if I've rushed through a lot of it, but obviously a big 2 cards, and hopefully some joy there. There does look to be some good value, and hopefully we come away with something on the day. Good luck, guys.